The hour of 4 o'clock having arrived. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Board of Directors meeting for Vallecitos Water District. And Mr. Martin, would you mind leading us in the pledge?
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if you wouldn't mind, while we're sitting down, check your cell phones, turn off or to vibrate. Roll call, Diane?
Director Evans?
Here.
Director Ferguson?
Here.
Director Martin?
Here.
Director Vogel?
Here.
Director Hernandez?
Here.
Thank you.
Oral communications, no slips. Thank you. Consent calendar items. Yes.
Adopt the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you very much. A motion to adopt the agendas.
So moved.
And a second? Thank you very much. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you, everyone. And now the consent calendar. Entertain a motion to approve?
Move to approve?
Yes?
Second?
Yes.
Conversation?
Questions?
I have some, yes.
You have some questions? Yes?
I know it's regarding the minutes, and I know we do a lot of talking, and we did discuss a lot at the last meeting, but when I was reading through it, I think we missed that we had changed the meeting date from the 16th to the 23rd. So what I'd like to know is if we can have that change reflected in the minute.
Yes, the original document has already been changed.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, thank you.
Very good. Any other questions?
And I had one on the warrant list.
By all means.
Find it. Maybe it was two.
Just one?
It's two quick ones. One had to do with, we bought some solar panels, and I just wondered how often we do that, and is that because they wear out, or did we get new ones, or did a baseball hit them, or?
Yes. We have an agreement with the city because of the baseball parks next door. What we go through is periodically look for broken solar panels. They're broken from either baseballs or the kids throwing the rocks that are in the ballpark up onto the panels. You know, we replace them and we send the city the bill for the panels.
I think we should ask the city to replace the rocks with Nerf balls.
Well, we've actually asked them in the one panel where the problem is, when they put the rocks down, we told them, so we're working with them to remove the rocks. But it's basically, you put a bunch of 10-year-old kids out there with rocks and a big glass thing to throw it at. That's
So
what they
do we
do.
do this often, or?
About every 3 months? Probably about every 3 months,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Wow.
Does the city reimburse you?
correct. They did remove the rocks. Okay, they
All
took
right.
care of the rocks, so hopefully we don't have as many anymore.
Okay, and my second question is regarding the Nordahl Marketplace, and I noticed that they had a like 32,000 sewer refund, and I did sewer fee or something. So we've been talking about fees. I was trying to understand what that
Yeah,
was
what we have is for certain businesses, the board adopted a policy that allows for paying your sewer fees based upon your demands for commercial industrial.
Mhm.
And when they rebuilt the Nordahl Marketplace, when the meters got all switched around, the account that had the charges going to it for sewer, the landscape meter got reconnected, so the charges were being based upon additional demands on the meter, but they were actually based on landscape demands. That was caught somehow in the audit process, or they brought it to our attention. So for the last 6 months or a year, whatever they paid additional, it was actually inadvertently based upon landscape demands, not sewer. So we refunded the capacity back to them.
So we refunded that back,
Yes.
and then they had to pay for the landscape?
No, it was just the water. What happens is, we know a certain amount of water going through the meter is committed to landscape, and a certain amount goes inside. And what we have is industrial properties now, they'll put a landscape meter in, and they'll put a domestic meter in. So whatever goes in the domestic meter, we know 95% of it comes back out. The landscape had gotten tied into that, so the number went through the ceiling.
Thank you, I understand. And
Yeah.
that, I believe, was my questions.
Mr. Martin?
I have
Director Martin?
two quick ones. On page 24, Black and Veatch, final payment for the cost of service study. I know I should know this, but what was the total amount we paid them? This is the final payment of
What was the total contract?
$2,000.
60,000? It was
Roughly.
60,000.
About 60,000, thank you. And then about the seventh or eighth one down, City of Carlsbad, quarterly sewer service charge.
We have an area, I remember when they built the Laurels,
Yes.
there's an area to the far west of one of the developments in there. When they built it, they can't gravity sewer to us. The City of Carlsbad has a sewer line in the area. So what we did is we reached an agreement with them. So instead of building a pump station and all that cost that goes with it, the district entered into agreement with City of Carlsbad. Our sewer would go into their system because we jointly own Encina. It ends up being our sewer when it gets back to Encina. And then we pay that quarterly, monthly sewer charge. So what they would be paying us in a normal monthly charge, we collect and then we give that part of it to City of Carlsbad because we're using their system.
Makes sense. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Any further questions? I have a motion, I have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much. That's the consent calendar. And now on to the action items. 2.1, a resolution for financial transaction authorization.
Yes, I'll have Mr. Scaglione come up and address the board. He'll actually be handling the first three items in the agenda today.
Thank
Mail
you,
lunch.
Director Manager Lamb. Yes, you have before you, starting on page 32 of your board packet, a series of staff report and a series of resolutions about the financial transaction authorization. This is something that we want to bring to you like once a year, just as a way to say, you know, here's all of our authorizations. It's a good way to just keep current on which staff members are authorized to use a credit card, to make deposits into a bank account, and authorize CD purchases and things like that. So each one of these ordinances, or resolutions rather, have originated from the financial institution. So typically, LAIF will send us a template resolution, and Mission Federal Credit Union will send us their template resolution. So we have a lot of template resolutions. So these will not only be on record for us as who's authorized to make these transactions, but also with the financial institutions. They maintain those on file. So it's our way of having that mutual understanding of who's authorized to make these transactions. All these resolutions were brought forth to the auditors too, and it was reviewed as well. And it's just a way to communicate to the board and get authorization from the board to have these particular staff members be able to make these transactions. So, and this will come to you, we want to do this every year. So each year you should be getting this type of all these resolutions for any of the financial institutions that we deal with.
Director Martin, how have you done in the past? You
It-
want to
just
start doing it
as-
once
as-
a year.
Yeah, as a new employee came on and wanted to get them authorization, then we would just, find the old resolution, update that, and bring that in there. But this is a practice that Encina does. Instead of just doing it one at a time or when there's a change, let's just, even if there's no changes, let's review it all and bring it to the board. So it's a regular recurring practice, a good internal control. So it's, we feel it's a good improvement and want to bring that to you once a year.
And in order to do it this way, does that mean now as you hire people for those positions, they're going to be covered by and indemnified by insurance immediately?
If they handle cash, they're.
If they handle cash, yes.
Checks?
Yeah, and the reason what brought this about, Director Martin, exactly what Tom's talking about. We had to move a CD from, I think it was the Bank of America, 6 months ago. And we started that process literally about 18 months ago. And what we found was it was still under the signature of Bill Rucker and then some other stuff. So what we found, just and as he indicated, from a best management and board practice, regardless of what happens, we're just going to bring it back to you every year so that the board knows what it is. We don't get stuck somewhere along the way, somebody changing hands, and we just forget. Because what happened last time was the CD rolled over automatically in a bank we didn't want the money to be in because we couldn't get it out. I mean, it was still safe, and we knew it was ours, but it's just not where we wanted it. So just from a pure management standpoint, we'd rather come back to the board every year and let you know who's doing it, where we do business, and then just make sure we don't miss something.
I have a comment and a question. And the comment is, I think it's really important we do it every year, whether we change it or not. So I appreciate you becoming proactive on that. My question is, it's more out of curiosity, and I'm just gonna, I could use this on any of the following resolutions regarding the institute that we're using, institution, but I just wondered, how long have we been with Union Bank? And how often do we go out and do a comparison to see if we can get a better deal with a different financial organization?
Yeah. We've been with Union Bank as long as I've been here, probably at least, I don't know, probably 20 years. I don't know exactly how long, but about once every 5 years, we'll look at banking services. We did two full-on RFP processes since I've been here over the last 15 years. And then one, we did a more informal check of fees at different banks and also checking references and surveying other agencies. And we've always found that Union Bank has been their customer service is phenomenal, and their fees are right in line with everybody else. But
And
we keep an eye on it.
Is the bank here in town?
Yes, there's a local branch, but we deal with the government branch. It's mostly electronic, so,
Okay.
yeah.
And yes, Director Portal?
I was just gonna mention, that's usually brought to the board too,
Yes,
the results of that and the
Right,
explanation of
the
why
RFP.
we do what we do, yeah.
And I would suspect that if there was a change, much like this ordinance 189 that we have, we'd get that read out. We could see where it's at, if there was any wording change or anything like that.
Correct.
So what we see here is virtually what was the same as last year.
Yes, all it
Correct.
was we told you if we indicated we added another name.
Yeah.
That was it. And to go back, some of it was still based upon the old titles that we had. It was the
Yeah.
people, but it was different titles.
Ah,
So we just want to change that. And also because of just the overall overlap of who handles cash, who handles checks, to keep, what's the right term, separation of duties? Separation of duties,
good.
so that we're not, the same person doesn't balance checkbooks that writes the checks type thing. And then as Tom did indicate, we ran this by the auditors to make sure that this covered what they would consider separation of duties.
very good. Any questions? We're going to handle these separately, and we're going to start with, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved on 2.1, we adopt the resolution.
Item, that's resolution number 1426, and it is a roll call.
Hold on, quick question.
Yep.
Please clarify what 2.1 is. I'm looking on page 35, and I have a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 resolutions.
Yes, we're going to do the on an individual basis, Director Martin.
Right, but which one is that the resolution establishing credit card policy and procedures?
The first resolution, the first one that, resolution 1426 that the chair just referenced begins on page 36.
36, and I'll give you those pages as we move
Yeah, I was
forward
referring
from
to
now
the
on, so you
agenda
can
number,
see.
that's all.
Yeah.
I was just referring to the agenda.
Yeah,
number.
It's page 30.
2.1 is just the general heading. Item number 1 of 2.1 is a resolution 1426. The resolution number is not at the top, but you can read what the resolution is.
Regarding Union Bank.
Yes. And it's did I
You have a
receive
motion, you need a second.
I need a second. And this is a resolution, so this will be a roll call.
Director Evans?
Yes.
Director Ferguson?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes.
Director Polo?
Yes,
Director Hernandez?
Yes. And the second one is on page 37. Tom, do you need an explanation? You're gonna read through that? How we want
This
to-
is the one for, also for Union Bank, the trust and custody services or investments are held with them in trust,
Very good.
and that's for this.
Move approval, move adoption.
I'll second that. May I ask a question?
Yes, by all means.
I just wondered why when we're doing this, we don't have a resolution number on that page?
We normally don't assume the resolution numbers, assign the resolution number in there as it
Until
goes in
after.
case the board actually changes action as we go along.
Oh, I never noticed. Thank you.
Yeah, we actually don't put them in the document. Diane usually tracks it, and if we know it's moving forward, I'll give the chair his script with the numbers as we go along.
Thank you.
We have a motion, a second. Resolution again, Diane?
Director Evans?
Yes.
Director Ferguson?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes.
Director Polo?
yes,
Director Hernandez?
Yes. And the next,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, ma'am.
I would like to recommend that you give all of us this sheet so that we can be looking at the
Sure.
resolution numbers the same time the chair is. It isn't gonna cost you much to run 4 more copies.
No problem.
Very good.
But I gotta look at staff time and see if it's worth it.
It should be in the cost of studies report, right?
Just raise the fees.
Don't-
Cost of service study, we'll go back and look at that.
Don't bill us overtime.
The next one is on page 39,
It's resolution
And this is,
1428.
1428.
And this is for our LAIF, where we invest idle funds. It's a pooled investment fund with the state of California.
Move
So-
for approval.
I have approval, a motion, is there any second? Second from Director Bodel. Roll call again.
Director Evans?
Yes.
Director Ferguson?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes.
Director Poe?
Yes.
Director Hernandez?
Yes. Item next, item number 4 is on page 40, and that's resolution number 1429.
I
Is it-
move adoption.
Second?
And a second, this is also a roll call, Diane?
Director Evans?
Yes.
Director Ferguson?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes.
Director Poe?
Yes.
Director Hernandez?
Yes. Item next is resolution 1430 on page 41.
Go for it, Ken.
Yes, a question on that one? Yeah.
I have a question on the resolution. At the bottom of page 41, it lists 3 powers, 1, 2, and 3. And then when you go to page 42, it lists who has the powers, but nobody has power 2. Why is that?
We don't want anybody to have power two.
Oh,
Power two is you can draw checks. This is only a CD, so it is a form, a template form from the bank, but we want to specifically shown that nobody has that power to withdraw on it. It's only to create the deposit and then to roll it over or to withdraw the whole
I
deposit.
thought it was an unusual power, but it was on there, and I wondered why we didn't have it. Thank you. I'm gonna be an accountant someday.
And a
Second.
question or a second?
No, I'll second.
Second. And then 2 is a resolution, Diane?
Director Evans?
Yes.
Director Ferguson?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes.
Director Poe?
Yes.
Director Hernandez?
Yes. Item next is resolution 1431, and that's on page 44.
Move adoption.
Second?
And a second. Any questions? That is all, I have a motion and a second as a resolution. Roll call, please.
Director Evans?
Yes.
Director Ferguson?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes.
Director Poe?
Yes.
Director Hernandez?
Yes. And the last one is resolution 1432 on page 47.
Move to approve?
Second?
And a
Question.
second. Question?
Yes.
Yes.
Who, and I've been wondering this the entire time I've been here, who, when we accumulate sky miles, hotel miles, all the miles that you get, how is that reducing our rates at some point in time? Because we spend a lot of money on travel.
Ms. Posmar?
Actually, in the duration that I have been here, there hasn't been an accumulation of miles to apply in the very beginning. It has been done in the past, board members that have, with a specific airline, when they've accumulated miles, it's been applied to the next district travel, not
Yeah.
for personal travel.
We roll the points over, and we actually do use them to get discounted flights.
And the same with hotel, and, because I know it's an enormous amount of money spent.
Yeah, wherever we can get credit or to reuse it or roll it over in the points, we do that. Yeah, Southwest was the best one, obviously, because we do a lot of local travel at Southwest.
And who are the designees on the credit card?
Those are on page 48 at the very bottom. The 2 of us that have credit cards it's First Bank, but it's actually Union Bank. I asked the same question. I said, well, who's First Bank card? Is Union Bank, so the assistant manager and myself actually have cards on behalf of the district as the 2 primary card holders. Kevin McKelvey is the purchasing agent. When the board adopted the purchasing policy several months back, the revision to all the different limits, Kevin is authorized to purchase things within those limits. You may recall there was a cash amount through Home Depot and those kind of things, so they weren't over there buying tools every day that cost $150. That's why we have that limit. And then Shannon Danko is the person that works for Rondi, who does all of the general office stuff as far as supplies. So she's authorized to only purchase at any of those 3 places.
Thank you very much.
Entertain a motion to,
Already made a motion.
Motion and a second?
I believe.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
We're so fast today.
Roll call, please.
Director Bennett?
Yes.
Director Ferguson?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes.
Director Cole?
Yes.
Director Bennett?
Yes.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay, moving on to 2.2, engineering fee ordinance.
Yes, you have before you, starting on page 50, a staff report regarding an update of engineering fees. This is a result of the cost of service study where they established fees for the various services that we provide in engineering. And what you see in the staff report are just those ones that have changed in what we're proposing for the ordinance for the fees. So you've got a list starting on the bottom of page 50. These are actual, some of the individual services where the rates have changed. It's been a while since we updated them, and this is the first time we had an outside consultant come in and actually do this cost of service study to match up our costs for providing these services. So what you see here is what they are currently in the existing column and then what they're proposed to be. These proposed are reflected in the ordinance you also have to consider as well.
Question?
I can see the last one you had on this was 4 years ago.
2009.
That was conducted internally,
Yes.
2009?
Yes.
And that was and I've known our staff to be pretty competent, from what I know them. Are we saying we're that far off, or prices have really escalated that much in the last
Yeah,
4 years?
in 4 years, there's been some escalation, but also some changes in procedures, and this was just a much more well-thought-out survey. It wasn't just a casual, how many hours you spend here, how many hours you spend there. It was an interview of staff time, not just staff time, but materials too, and support as well, for not just the individual providing the service or performing the service, but for the support time as well. So.
Any other questions?
I'm gonna have a lot of questions.
Oh, good.
I'd like to go down line by line, only because we didn't have a workshop. I've never talked about this before that I know of. Sure we
Yeah,
did.
it was in the two, it was in the
Yeah.
two cost of service study workshops that we did go over. We can go right through each one and explain what the documents are, there's no problem with that.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, I'll take it, because I probably know them better than Tom does as far as, you stay there.
Yeah, darn.
We do, the first one, the 150 for a boundary adjustment, and you have to remember, these go across multi-jurisdictions. So when we deal with one agency or a different agency, the cost is completely different in their process. So these are averages for a lot of these costs. But it could be a boundary adjustment, it's the availability letter. So with the county, we do a very simple availability letter because we use their form. With the city of San Marcos or Escondido Carlsbad, we give a much more detailed availability letter because it includes initial preliminary fees, initial conditions of service, preliminary water and sewer information, so it's a lot more involved compared to what we did 4 years ago. That's the biggest reason that availability letter fee went up.
Dennis, this is, when we talked about the cost of service study and everything, so these numbers that we're changing, once again, it is just a given Excel spreadsheet that we're just changing around where the costs are going.
That's correct.
We're not increasing costs.
It's
We're not
recovering the same amount of
increasing our
money,
fees.
but we're just putting it where it belongs.
Right.
Yeah. So does it increase these individual costs? Yes.
Well, these costs.
But what it does is takes other general G&A, so we call it general support costs that's in the budget and reduces that. So that anybody that comes into the counter, if they do something, they're paying the true cost of what the service is.
But a quick question, I tried to wrap my arms around this the last meeting, I still didn't get it. My fault, I'm sorry. But then the G&A, you're reducing the cost somewhere. Somewhere it has to relate to a savings.
Yes,
If
and
you're now charging someone for it, and you should have been charging more, that's fine, but last year you didn't, and you got it from somewhere else. So where's that somewhere else now that is getting a savings because you're charging it over here? It's got to balance.
right. The overall engineering fees is not a material part of our revenues, but going forward, when we do our next budget process, we'll have a track record, a history, to be able to project the new, engineering fees. Hopefully, they'll probably be a little bit higher, but our G&A costs will be a little bit less, and that will be rolled into rate setting, be rolled into projections for reserves and things like that. So once we do have a track record, this should influence that as well.
So it could or should influence rates
Subsequent.
in the future.
Absolutely.
Subsequent years.
Right, after these are
Current,
done.
we'd know because we didn't have it done in time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, You might talk engineering fees come to a total of $100,000 in a year, maybe 200,000 in a $129 million budget. So it's going to be that blip that we track, but will it really show up as a distinct? Don't know.
It's more just equitable.
Yeah. The next three documents are all pretty standard things that you would do at development. It could be a quitclaim document. That's where we are either quitclaiming an easement. We could be quitclaiming an agreement that's recorded against a piece of property. Just a variety of different things we go through. One thing we have found over the past few years, and if you've been in the development business, title insurance, title reports, easements have gotten a lot more hicky. It's much harder to get things nailed down definitively. Everything is getting much more expensive just to process because of accuracy. You can see those went up double, from 250 to 6, and then 150 to 350. So a substantial increase. But still, when you look at an hourly rate, a burden rate of 75, 80 bucks, or $100 an hour, it's a couple hours of work is really what it comes down to.
Those three and the other one further down, the encroachment permit,
Mhm.
which is double. I guess that's my question. In a 4-year time, some of these things have over doubled.
We probably didn't have the number correct back when we did the study 4 or 5 years ago. Because as Tom indicates, it was a rather informal.
And the burden rate as well.
And the burden rate because of the change in the burden of overhead.
These reflect the new overhead rates as
You
well.
remember we went from 75.75% for a burden to 2.3? 1.3.
1.9.
1.9.
So if you could just encapsulate for me,
Mhm.
A quitclaim document.
Quick claim would be,
What does it take? Give me the steps it takes for us to produce that.
okay, what we'll do is we'll go through, it, whether it be a developer or a homeowner, will come in, and they'll come in with the title report saying there's an easement on this property. Okay? So we'll take their title report, we have to research it, then we have to find the easement document, see if it is our easement, see whether or not we still use the document or whether we can quitclaim it.
Is that one person that does all?
That's one person normally, that would be engineering staff.
What the engineering staff?
Yeah, engineering staff, probably an hour and a half to 2 hours maybe doing that. Once we find it, if we can quitclaim the document, if we can quitclaim the easement, let's say we just don't need it anymore, well then we have to verify the legal description, get current ownership on the property, and prepare a quitclaim deed. The next thing we do is, that's actually a document authorized by the board that I can sign to quitclaim automatically. Then they have to take it down to the County of San Diego and record it. So you have the travel time, you have the cost of recording it, plus you have all the costs of doing it. That's similar to all 4 of those documents. So 3 to 4 hours of work is eaten up pretty quickly. The encroachment permit, the negative declaration would be an environmental document. If something just has to be a neg deck. We don't get too many of those on behalf of the developer. That's very seldom, but we do get them occasionally. The fire flow analysis, anytime anybody walks in the door to do a tenant improvement in the cities, any of the cities or county, the first thing they have to do is find out if they have fire flow available to them. So if it's just somebody doing a tenant improvement, you'll notice one of the other fees further on for hydraulic analysis is like $3,000. It's a much more detailed. Well, some person just needs to walk in and verify what they have for fire flow. They take that number, they give it to their fire sprinkler person. That person uses that to do their design. So what they do is they come in, they say, here's where my building is. We have to find the fire hydrants. We do a quick hydraulic analysis instead of the full-blown one. We give them the information, they take it to their designer, and then we stop.
Thank you.
The next page, minor subdivision, minor commercial. Again, same thing on the hydraulic analysis, except now you've got a new project coming in.
These are deposits, by the way.
Yeah, these are
aren't
all
fees.
deposits.
They'll pay actual costs, but this is just the initial deposit.
Yeah, these
to
are
start the
actually,
work.
yeah, sorry, these are
This is the
deposits
next
towards those
section.
costs.
But I guess raising the deposit means that we're finding our cost is really increased.
Absolutely,
So it's a
absolutely.
fair adjustment.
It's the average adjustment of what it is. Some will get a few bucks back, some will pay us a few bucks more. So for a sewer model and a hydraulic model, so if you come in with a 4-lot subdivision, a new commercial center, it's probably just a parcel infill now. You know, not commercial. So what we do is we do the actual water and sewer study. Here's what your project is, here's what you've got to build. Can our system in the area provide fire flow that you need as new? Because what you have to keep in mind, if you're already there and you're building, your fire flow back when they did it might have been 1,000 gallons per minute. So the system was designed for that. You come in now, you're probably looking at 2,000, 2,500 GPM. So we have to do a whole study. We identify what the cost is. So it's a little bit more expensive than just doing a single study, but it takes a little bit more time. Then you get into the next 2. These are for major subdivisions. This would be anything from San Eloy Hills walking in. I think their fee was probably 15 to 20,000 back when they did it. This could be a 10-lot subdivision coming in. We do the whole analysis. It's just a bigger subdivision. It takes more work to get through the model to do it. So we went from 500 to 25 and 1250. The sewer modeling is much more complex when we do the modeling. It includes the entire area. With water, you look in the immediate area. It's pretty easy to do. You look at all the pipes right around the subdivision. With sewer, you look at the pipes at the subdivision, and then you go from the subdivision west, all the way down to number 1 lift station on San Marcos Boulevard, into the outfall, all the way to Encino. So it's not a localized, it's much bigger scope. That's why it costs more money.
Quick question, because you said San Diego probably paid 20,000. It's a huge subdivision.
Big.
So is these numbers here based on
Small.
15, 20?
Smaller subdivisions that are in general, that generally that would be done. And even with San Alejo, they did the bulk of it, we then just checked it. So when a big subdivision comes in, if they want to do it, we let them do it.
For instance, just to use it, it's out there, Palomar Station.
Palomar Station would have been in this scope because of the size of the project. Yeah.
So they would have paid the existing amount of deposit.
They would have paid $1,000 and then we would have billed them for any additional, which I can almost assure you there was additional.
Which would come way up.
Right, yeah.
Thank you.
By example, they have off-site sewer that they have to do because their impact is not necessarily right here, that's down the street.
Right.
The next, let's see, water supply assessment and the water and sewer study. You may recall, I think it was a board meeting or two back, we talked about WSAs, water supply assessment. That's required by AB 610, and I always forget the other number. But it was the laws that were passed back at the beginning of before the last drought. There was a push by one assemblywoman who had concerns in Northern California, not in Southern California, but mostly Northern California, that projects were going through their environmental review, but they weren't addressing where their water came from. So what those two studies said is if it gets over a certain number of units, or a certain amount of square feet, or a certain amount of acreage, you have to do this water supply assessment. This came to a head with the board here probably about 6-7 years ago, which is what led to the impact fees and everything else, is because we look at the water. You may recall the conversation at the joint meeting with the mayor when he asked, are we running out of water? And I said, well, I can't answer that because I don't do the study, the water authority does the study and says how much water we have. So what we do is we have to do a supply assessment required by law. We have to do it, they cannot hire a consultant. It has to be done by the public agency. We look at how much water we have, how much water the water authority projects for us, 20 plus years out, where the water's coming from, do we or do we not have the water? So this is where the trick comes in when they change density on a project. If it's not within the land use that the water authority approved, theoretically the water's not there. So that's the chain of events, but that's what those two studies are. One leads right into the other. One is the water supply and the other is the, what do we call it? The water density study. Yeah, we have to look at the two of them, but that's what that actually is. That is a report that has to come to the board of directors. Staff cannot approve it, or we can only do the study. It has to actually come before the board of directors for approval. We haven't had one in about 2 years now, maybe 3 years. Inspection deposit.
I think you've answered the gist of everything.
Okay.
It's merely a deposit based upon what we think it's gonna be, and they're gonna pay the difference or get something back one way or the
Yeah.
other.
And then you can see the water and pipeline inspection things. We actually hit those pretty good, pretty close to the number. We had so many projects prior to the last 4-year study that was a pretty easy one, so we hit those pretty closely.
Just one question, the sentence, legal counsel has reviewed the draft ordinance. Does that mean if we don't see that on anything, it means they haven't?
I don't think so. We see all these ordinances.
They
I
see
think
all of them.
just-
I know,
Yeah,
so what,
Yeah.
maybe,
it's just part and parcel,
yeah.
the template?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes we have to modify it or individualize it.
Yeah, some of the ordinances, when they have legal ramifications, law and citing other different things, we definitely make that statement. Do we review them all? They do review them all, yes. Does it always get stated in there? No.
Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions?
So we move adoption of the ordinance.
And a second? Director Podel,
second.
all in favor?
Roll call.
Aye.
Roll call.
Oh, sorry.
Director Evans?
Yes.
Director Ferguson?
Yes.
Director
Yes.
Director Vogel?
Yes.
Director Hernandez?
Yes. Okay, yes.
I would just like to say, and this is in sync with what Director Polo's been saying, I appreciate that the cost of service study gives us the opportunity to make these changes and then feel confident of the nexus of why we're doing it, and that we're not, like we did in 2009, guesstimating to a great deal. So although it's a little shocking on some of them, they went up, some did go down, but I just want to reiterate that I appreciate we did that. It
Thank
was
you.
good.
Very good. Let's see, 2.3.
Tom's on a roll.
I might as well keep going here. Yeah, starting on page 57 is a staff report regarding a small change to our water capacity fee ordinance. Again, with the cost of service study, one of the recommendations was to have our standard meter be 3/4 inch meter, or standard spec. But we had an ordinance out there with an exhibit that still had the 5/8 inch as our base meter. So this is just almost like a technical correction to say, take out the references to 5/8 inch and put 3/4 inch in the, it doesn't change fees or anything, but it just changes one that assigns one EDU to a 3/4 inch meter, and it just changes the references from every time it says 5/8 to 3/4 inch meter, since that is now our base meter. And that's really the only impact from this. The 3/4 inch meter was 1.5 EDU before, and that will be grandfathered. Nobody loses capacity. But now a customer coming into the district gets a 3/4 inch meter, gets 1 EDU of capacity. And so, and that's really all this is. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second? Yes, question?
Second.
Oh, the Director
Got
Porter's already
everything.
taken.
Yes, you
Okay, you can
Moving.
have that one. Very good. And now I'm lost because they're both the same, so is this a resolution, roll call?
It's an ordinance.
It is.
Yep.
Ordinance, thank you very much.
Question,
Then
the
yes.
only thing that's changing is that little graph chart. Everything else is staying exactly the same.
Yeah.
Correct. There's some references too that just say 5/8 and just changing the 5/8 to 3/4 in that exhibit, in that same exhibit.
Yeah, this was the whole thing where we didn't want to, we were very careful when we brought it back to the board, and what the board's direction was, we didn't want to take anybody's capacity away that had already bought a 3/4 inch meter. So you'll see on the table that they're actually still entitled, anybody that had it before, they're grandfathered. But now, the 5/8 meter is just no longer gonna be there. But part of the fear was if we then said the 3/4 was the minimum size, the fee would go up automatically to the 3/4. We didn't do that, we kept the fee at the 5/8, so we didn't change any fees. All we did was said now the minimum size meter is a 3/4. That way, the two reasons, one, we have much greater flexibility in reading for accuracy. And then the second benefit of the 3/4 inch meter for up to 3,000 square feet home, we don't have to record or go through that fire analysis thing anymore and then track their demands. Because right now, we have to track their demands. If they go over, we have to charge them. This gets rid of all those issues.
Oh, perfect. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second? Second, Director, and this is a roll. Thank you.
Director Evans?
Yes.
Director Ferguson?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes.
Director Polo?
Yes.
Director Hernandez?
Yes. Item 2.4, the revision of ordinance for conducting business.
If I could, before you begin your discussion, Chair, you have a red line ordinance in front of you. What happened was when we did the changes that were requested, you should have it there, Ben.
We all
okay. On page 4, you'll notice that we just added the San Marcos Economic Development Council in there, and the North County version of it. The board had approved this in the past, but because we had two differing resolutions, now I needed to add the verbiage back in here. So that's a change when you, if you take action on it, if you could just note with that change.
The adding of the two?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, other than that, it's the same thing that was in the board packet. We caught that afterwards. Diane caught that I forgot to add those in, so I just want to give you a red line.
Very good.
I move adoption
With the additions?
as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
And this is a roll call, please.
Director Evans?
Yes.
Director Ferguson?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes.
Director Polo?
Yes.
Director Hernandez?
Yes.
Thank you.
2.5, budget amendment request for the SCADA upgrade.
Okay, Tom sat down, this Ed's turn now. Thank you.
Good. Oh, good. Good to see you, Ed.
Thank you, Mr. Lamb. Mr. President, members of the board, on page 72, we have before you a request for a budget amendment to complete the SCADA upgrade project at the Metal Arc Reclamation Facility. Excuse me, still fighting a cold. This project actually began about 2 years ago, and we've completed the Water Operations Department and the Collection and Sewer Department with upgrading new hardware and new software to the latest versions. Metal Arc was the last one. Reason we didn't request additional funds, we thought we had hit all the headaches, all the hard knocks through the Water Operations Department, Collections Department, and apparently that's what we get for thinking, because we had even more down at Metal Arc. Biggest problem was if we transmit the data from Metal Arc up into the server here in admin, which is what we're doing with all 3 departments now. If we lost that data transmission, we lost the data. And that data is required to be kept through Title 22 regulations of the state of California. So some of the newer software that we're requesting funds for here will duplicate the data in a server down at Metal Arc and bring it in here so that we can use it for Maxima, which is our computerized maintenance management system. So all of this upgrade is to get us into the 21st century, and we just ran out of funds before we could complete it down at Metal Arc. So
Very good.
staff would request approval of a budget amendment of $60,000 to complete that project.
A question, Director
Two questions.
Martin?
Number one, SCADA, is it trademark? No matter where I go in California, everybody's got SCADA.
Yes, industry standards for the computer systems that we use to monitor, control, process in the field and at plants like Metal Arc. It's supervisory control and data acquisition, and we just refer to it as SCADA. All it really means is just the computer, the hardware, and the software that we use to do that job. And
Okay.
so
It's
you'll hear it
different
1,000
companies.
times.
Million.
SCADA is just a.
It's the acronym. And what Ed is referring to, where he said we have 3 different departments, historically, when we evolved into doing SCADA for each department, there was a lot of risk to going online with SCADA and control through the internet, through radio frequency and everything else. So we developed, when we moved in here, keep in mind, that was 25 years ago when we were doing this design, 20 years ago. Each department was done completely separately. Now, we've been here for 16 years, 2 years to build it, 3 years to design it. So it's been 22 years since we started looking at it. But each department was completely autonomous. The water operations was separate, sewer operations was separate, the treatment plant was separate. So over the last 5 years, what we've done is started to combine them all into one, plus go over the air because the security is there. And as Ed indicated, this is the last one to get everybody into one system.
I move staff recommendation.
Yes, Director Fodor?
So this will be the last SCADA upgrade?
I'm just kidding.
Until next week.
This year.
You've been sitting there all evening quiet.
And was that also a second, Director
Yeah, I'll-
Fodor? Very good.
Sweet of you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much. Eh, boy.
And see where you.
2.6, a request for a temporary off-site water and sewer service for high-tech elementary school. Hey, good to see you, Kent.
Mr. President, Board of Directors. This is for High-Tech High Middle School and High School. As you know, is located at San Marcos Boulevard and Discovery. On the map, the APN 219-210-40. And the High-Tech Learning is the entity that is constructing an elementary school just to the north of that. It's under construction now, and adjacent to the high school. That particular property is landlocked and it doesn't have frontage on San Marcos Boulevard or any public water or sewer system. So the High-Tech Learning requested a board consideration and approval of a temporary off-site agreement to construct water and sewer services or connect water and sewer services through the high school property. They already exist, the services exist for the high school, and it's simply extending that until such time as the property develops and we get public water and sewer up. It'll probably go up in there. If it splits and there's another need for it, we'll require a public sewer and probably an easement in the road easement. Temporary off-site services are, per our ordinance 118, is available and appropriate in this particular case. Staff would recommend board's approval for the temporary off-site water and sewer service with the conditions that are listed. Pay the service fees, water and sewer fees, submit proof of recorded easement, and payment of inspection deposits. I believe they've completed all of those already.
Yes, Director Martin.
Ken, question. Let's assume these were not friendly bodies, but this was Bill's patio furniture going in back here. You wouldn't allow them to do that, obviously. Where would their water and sewer come from if it didn't come through the high school? And if in fact they remain separate parcels, is there not in the future the potential for different owners that would create the impact necessary to change that?
Take the
Last question.
Last question. Yeah, there is a potential in this case for separate ownership. The entities, they're the same, but they're called different that owns the high school than this
Right.
for financing purposes. And yes, if there was a lot split again, or if they were sold off to another entity, under that ordinance, we would require them to provide public water and sewer service in a public easement or right-of-way, which would, in that case back there, would probably be the road that exists, and we'd get a public easement, and they'd be required to have a separate water service to a public main. They could run the public mains up there if they wanted to, or make a separate connection in San Marcos Boulevard. And
So
for
by
their
doing
service.
this, reality is we're just putting off the fees to a later date. Might be 20 years, 30
Yeah,
years.
that's why it's a temporary,
Temporary.
and that's exactly why it's just not costing. You know where is it Del Taco still? I don't know what it is now.
Starbucks, huh?
It's a Starbucks?
Yeah. The one on San Marcos Boulevard?
Yeah. Right on, that's, oh, okay, I mean,
Right across from the high school.
it's on a
We
temporary.
saw it the other day.
Yeah, it's on a temporary service. So when they came in as the developer, gosh, I can't think of his name, nice guy, long time ago. When they built the Del Taco, there's no water main or sewer main in Pacific. So instead of making them run a sewer main up Pacific just for one piece, what they did is they got a temporary, they get an easement, and they run a private lateral down into San Marcos Boulevard. And then if 20 years from now, the parcel to the north splits or changes, they run the new sewer main up to it. The provision of the temporary agreement says there's two issues. One, you cannot protest the formation of an assessment district, so you can't now block it. And secondly, it then falls within the guidelines of our existing reimbursement policy that says if somebody brings a sewer main or water main past your property, you are obligated to then move your connection to your property and pay your fair share of that main. Yeah. So we do it temporary because the odds are unlikely it'll be in the near future. The other option we have, and we started to look at it here, but Ken felt there was a potential for it, is we have a permanent offsite. And what they would do is they put it in, and there's zero likelihood of a main ever going back there. What they do is they pay 25% of the potential cost if it ever does up front as a fee. Then if somebody ever does it, we put that money towards whoever builds the pipe. So this could be temporary for 50 years. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Director Polo.
A little off the subject, but that's a pretty complicated intersection, you know, where Discovery is.
Oh, yeah.
And all that.
Very.
Are there any plans right now on modifying that whole intersection?
The city has some plans, been going on and off seriously off and on plans for the last 5 years to widen San Marcos Boulevard, along in the frontage of our, lift station number 1. And to add another lane through there. They didn't get the grant funding that they wanted, and so it's kind of on hold. We've reviewed plans, and they do have plans for another lane all the way through that and redo the intersection.
Okay, but nothing,
Nothing imminent. It's on their capital projects list.
got it, thank you.
Any other questions? Then I would entertain a motion to approve the recommendation.
So moved.
And seconded.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Very nice.
Thank you. Thanks, Ken.
2.7, the quarterly investment report.
It's provided for your information. Tom would be more than happy to walk you through if you have any questions on it. Or John, excuse me, John would be more than happy to walk you through. We transferred that from Tom to John.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, and there's no action, very good. And that is the end of the action items. Reports, the general manager?
Just one item, I think we have the video queued up here. If you didn't get a chance to look at it yet, they were talking about earlier, the citizen-centric presentation.
I'll be signing autographs at the outside.
I'll be the first one to ask for one.
Yeah, it's on my wish list.
Citizens need to be engaged in local government. And one of those is always with that, is getting information to the citizens.
That's my kind of film.
This project is trying to help students realize how important that is.
Is that as loud as the volume's gonna be?
I'm not sure why they've got it so low. It'll be over by the time you get in here.
It's on 2 minutes.
It's an easy-to-read, 4-page document that contains both financial and non-financial information. And as an accountant, you know, you kind of want to promote, you know, people's involvement in accounting rather than not knowing anything about the numbers like we do. So I chose Vallecitos Water District because I knew there was an upcoming water tour that would help me get some information.
We were delighted to have your university involved. We put it on our website.
Yay,
We
tough
have it
one.
front desk, passing it out at our events, so it's become very important about the Vallecitos Water.
Here's the good part.
Nice wall.
That's a nice wall.
It's a wall of shame.
Look at that desk,
There is a little small.
oh, there's a picture. Christmas.
Some of the most interesting facts you can find in the report is that water travels over 400 miles. It's not coming from the back door.
This is very helpful to be transparent. It's not transparent when we put up a 300-page document. I mean, yes, it is, this document is very important, but accompany that with this book is, that's what transparency is about.
Ooh, good thing that wall socket.
So I think a citizen-centered report can be summed up by the words from Thomas Jefferson. Whatever the people are willing for, they can be trusted to their own government.
Very nice, very nice.
So, well, it's actually, if they haven't already put it, there'll be a link on the webpage. Plus, we'll do part of the press to let the newsletter to let them know the video is now available, and we'll continue with that. That's all I have.
And legal counsel?
I think that MGM is probably calling right now, Jim.
I have my SAG card ready.
Isn't this your second movie?
You know, just a bit
This is
of,
your
Yeah,
second movie.
This is my second movie.
just a bit of trivia. The governor has finished taking action on all the bills that were on his desk. And he basically signed 805 bills and vetoed about 96, which represented 11% of the bills that went on his desk. That was the lowest percentage since he was governor before, when it was around 4%. And just to provide a little comparison, Schwarzenegger averaged about 20% vetoes of the bills that went across his desk. And just following up on Director Evans' comments about the importance of having a nexus between the charge and the service that was being provided, I have to laugh a little bit because 30 years ago, when they when I first started, the general manager at the time, Jim McKay, how we did it in those days was that Mr. McKay would call his colleague at another water district and ask, well, what are you charging for that particular service? So I think we've really come a long ways with the studies and the way we do business now. That's all I have.
Very good. San Diego County Water Authority.
Well, to sort of piggyback on what you were just saying, the state legislature, which just closed in September, the Water Authority was actually following 178 bills that had some potential effect on the water agencies. And they ended up adopting positions on 17 of those, 17, and 9 of those were actually opposed positions, but none of those went any further. The one that the Water Authority sponsored, though, was SB 322, which is the one about the asking the Department of Public Health in conjunction with the Department of Water Resource Control Board to look into the feasibility of coming up with a standard requirement criteria for recycling potable water. So it was an excellent thing, and interestingly enough, the governor signed it himself on October 8th, and he did something a bit unusual. He issued a statement with it, which they normally do if they oppose something, veto it, but he issued a statement. I wanted to read what he wrote. He said, "I am directing the Water Board to ensure that this work is completed expeditiously. He would like it to be done by 12/31/2016. The 3-year time frame mandated in this bill is too slow. California needs more high-quality water, and recycling is the key to getting there." So I think they were very pleased that it's being pushed. Where it will go, we don't know, but that was a very positive vote. Tomorrow is a full day's meeting, and there will be another presentation on another aspect of the BDCP, which will deal mostly with the environmental issues and the different review processes, whether you're going with CEQA or NEPA. Because of the shutdown, of course, the period of review and all stuff has been postponed. And we won't really be making a decision on, the Water Authority really won't be deciding if they're going to oppose or agree or make a comment. But before then, I would like to have a presentation when we know what we're kind of talking about to the board, a brief one from the Water Authority on that. So if you have an input you'd like me to relay specifically, I would have that. And the other final thing is the school education program. They're very excited about it. They've had some, and I'm so sorry I don't have the details, but they did get extra grant money this year. So they're really pushing the programs, and I was speaking with Lisa to say, perhaps at the next meeting, if it's, oh, you have them. I was curious at how many of our schools are using both the Splash program and the videos, and there's an opportunity to do that. And usually there's only a limited number, so the first one who gets it, the same teacher or school keeps coming back. And I'd like to see if there's an opening for more slots that our school
Lisa.
district and our districts in our region are the ones who are taking advantage. Thank you. Is that, thank you.
Thank you. I rushed upstairs and got your information for you.
Oh, I didn't think you could do it so fast.
I am happy to report, I have a list here that 14 water agencies in the county participate in the Splash Lab, and Vallecitos is tied for first place with Vista for the most number of visits. So we definitely can see, this is Vallecitos here, we definitely encourage this. And I was looking at the different schools because you were asking, is it the same school? It is everything. It's Richland, La Costa, Paloma, Discovery, Dunn, Poinsettia, Nob Hill, San Marcos Elementary, San Alejo School. The word is out, definitely.
That's
out.
great. Well, compliments
Yeah.
to the school district. I'll have to let
Well,
them know,
it's
but.
Oh, no, no, no. This was actually in place before I got here, so. So
Take the
good job,
credit.
good stuff.
Yes, but you should take some credit, because I think that Vallecitos as a district has done a really good job with the water tours, with the things you have going on, the Historical Society, and the Splash made it available. And I would just, how would I go about doing that? Or how would you go about doing, just letting the district itself know that there's an opening right now for, there's money right now, so they may be able to get more tourists, and we want to be first.
Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
don't know how to pursue that, but I'd like to.
Okay.
Their goal was to hit 300,000 students and 3,000 teachers. I think that was the goal in a certain period of time. I think it's by the end of 2015.
Oh, wow.
And they're already at 2,100 teachers, and they're at 100,000 students, and they're at 57,000. So they're way ahead.
Great.
Very excited, but I was happy to hear actually there was grant money.
No, that's great. Yeah, I'll have to get information on that. Since last October, we've had almost 1,700 students go through the splash lab,
Wow.
just from Vallecitos.
Just from
so
Vallecitos,
It's
yeah.
very, very busy.
Excellent.
What we can do is have Lisa reach out to the coordinator with the Water Authority and make sure that we're getting the information out. The other thing we do, if you have any friends that are teachers, we forward it to Director Podol whenever it comes out. CSDA, California Special District Association, every year they have a program and grants available too. And I think Alvin done one at one year, but it's actual grants that they issue to whoever applies, that they can get some additional grant. It might be $500, but it's something they can go out and do a science thing, and they actually apply for it, and then they have to go through a selection process. So we do that annually. We provide that to the school district as well to get more input.
And we'll report on this on the quarterly updates on the business plan, like what schools, how many students, so.
Okay.
I know you've spoken about it before, and I'm just curious, when they gave this number, I was hoping it would be, so
Would you like the report?
kudos. Oh, if you
Yeah,
don't
this
mind,
is
that'd be
for you.
great. Would anyone else want this? Would you like a copy, Director Podol?
Sure. Yes, absolutely.
Can
And
you give me
Jim?
a copy, and then, thank you.
If I could, on the first item, Director Evans. Overtime.
You may have a copy too,
We all should have
Dr. Martin, Director Martin.
You can just email it to me. It's fine.
The first item that the Director Evans spoke about, the 2016 target for the new rules. If you came to that workshop we had here where we had the state come down and the four scientists, whatever we call them, that was part of that whole pitch. They need $10 million total. They're at about 6.8, give or take. So they've collected quite a bit, but they're still pushing pretty hard.
This is
That's to get the rules,
the expert panel
yeah,
together.
to get the rules promulgated. The trick is that 2016 date, that's the time to get the process in place to determine how the rules will be written. That's not actually the writing of the rules, that's the process to determine how to write the rule. So we're pushing pretty hard, but the North County Reclaim Water Coalition, we've shortened the name.
Thank you very
that
much.
one more
We've shortened the
time.
name. They're looking at combining between all of the agencies submitting $100,000 as a contribution towards that goal.
Very good.
What's the shortened name? It only took 4 months to get to?
North County Reclaim Water Coalition.
Coalition.
It was the San Diego North County Reclaim Water Users Group. We're getting there.
Well, it'll be NCRC
Yeah.
in another couple of months.
Yeah.
NCR.
Very good. Encinitas Water Authority. Care to start, Mr. Podol?
I'll start. They did have a policy and finance committee meeting this month, and today we had a board meeting, and there was only one action item, other than closed session. And you could probably speak better to this tonight, Kim Dennis, but they rescinded the resolution of 04-15, which was mainly in place during phase 5 expansion.
Yeah, when we've gone through 5 expansions, the last one's what the board was just accepted, that's where we purchased more credit, more capacity. During the construction period, again, you have to remember it was almost 10 years. 10 years ago, all of the different agencies, we were starting to encroach on each other's capacity. So let's say we were flowing 4 million, but we only owned 4.1. We were within that 10% pool where we get fined if we use it for too long. Well, we knew we were building it, we'd all put the money there, so what Encina did was they adopted a resolution, everybody approved unanimously, that said for the next 10 years, we have this much sewer. And if you encroach into it or you exceed that 10% criteria, we're not gonna fine you, because we know we're building the new thing. The new one has been built, it's been reapportioned. Kevin spoke to some of that when he did the budget. The district will actually be getting back 2.1 million, give or take, from what we paid, what we thought the cost would be versus what the final cost came in. So all they're doing is rescinding a policy that really has no bearing on anything at this point, because the new capacity is there and we have what we need.
Very good. All right. Director's report, travels? Yes, sir?
Very quickly, I just returned from the WEF Northern California tour, which was recommended highly by the chair, where we visited a few places. California Farm Bureau was our first, Riverfront Park, to learn how rivers meander. The education that you get on these tours is just incredible, getting out there and feeling all warm and fuzzy about the environment. Lunch at Yuba County Water Agency. The Feather River Fish Hatchery was interesting, I'm sure most of you have been to it. They have the ladders for the salmon to swim
Yeah,
up.
swim
and
up.
They have the windows so you can watch them. I was really, I've never been that close before, but I didn't realize the size of salmon. They're pretty big fish. I mean, it depends, but they're pretty big.
You
fish.
hook onto a salmon, you know you've got a fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty big fish. Then we went to Oroville Dam and went to the power plant, and that was very interesting. I think the thing that surprised me is the downplaying of how low the water reservoirs are, no matter where you go. Because once one asked the question, well, where are you at? And the answer, instead of saying, well, we're only 40% full, was we're 60% below capacity. That sounds more appetizing. You're really down. I mean,
Yeah,
it's.
yeah.
a
What
lot of
what you have to
people-
remember, out of that 40% that's left, they have, what you probably heard, they have a dead pool.
Yeah.
Okay, that
Can't be
dead
used.
pool might be 15% of the reservoir, so they're down to 25%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was one thing that amazed me. And then we went to the Lundberg family farm headquarters where they produce a lot of the rice cakes, the big rice family. And that was very interesting that now some of the fields that they used to just burn, unfortunately, they still burn an awful lot of fields up there because we were there at burning time where the rice fields, once they've harvested them, they burn them. And it pollutes the air for the entire valley. I mean,
Yeah.
you choke. And they say it's better now than it used to be. But some of the fields they're able to flood and make it fish habitat for yearling little salmon to sort of, interesting. Then we went to Whiskeytown Dam, named after the town which used to be there, called Whiskeytown.
Whiskeytown.
And when they dammed it, it disappeared. That was interesting. Sacramento National Wildlife Refuge, Clear Creek Restoration Project. So a very, very interesting tour. And I know that Betty writes some very nice notes, so I know you'll be getting all those. But if you have any questions about the tour, I highly recommend it for the educational purpose of getting to understand it. And it did, the day before we arrived there, the feds went back to work. And it always cracked me up because all the people were saying, oh, we're so glad to be back at work, and I'm like, why, you're getting a paid vacation. But that's beyond me to say that, but I should have.
Was Shasta down far enough you saw the metal sticking out?
Yes.
Yes.
So they're down at historical lows.
Oh.
Whenever you see the original crane structure sticking out of the water, you're down at historic lows.
They pointed those out. See those there? That's, oh,
Yeah. You don't want to see them.
it's low.
I'd have to agree with Director Martin on the fact that although they're telling you it's down 160 feet, or it's down 120 feet, or it's 64% below, or whatever, they did not seem to have, the people at the dam themselves, didn't seem to have a sense of, oh my gosh. It was sort of like, but we've done this before and we'll make it through a couple more years drought, which is very interesting when we feel it a lot sooner and you realize it's still coming, and it's not just that whether they're at it, it's what we don't know what nature's gonna give us. I wanted to add something, the thing that I found the most encouraging about this, and it was interesting when we started out, we didn't have all the people because of the federal shutdown, so we weren't sure what we were going to get to do. And then they came on board that day and actually made room that we could do the dam. I mean, they just got back. And we were very excited that we got to do Shasta Dam and we had them on board. But I personally was encouraged by and surprised at how much, not surprised how much I learned because I don't know that much, but surprised, and I found this with each of the tours that I've done, at how much people are really trying to work solutions out. They may not want to get clear out of their own region, but up there I was very impressed to see when they're talking about the dams that have been built, and the whole place was totally ruined with the hydraulics of mining for gold. And there's all the mercury that's been dumped in all these rocks, and now they're figuring out how to try to, and are showing success with removing dams and changing the flow so that the fish can get through, and we're sort of getting this, in not great yet, but we really are working at a balance between the needs of nature and the animals and the needs of people, and that I thought was encouraging. And the other thing, when you mentioned the rice fields, I was one who always thought, why are we growing rice to no water? Well, as they explained, the rice is in the fields that are lined with clay, and the water doesn't really go anywhere. It's perfect for the rice. It sits there, they drain it off, and then they reflood it. And some of it is for the fish, but a lot of it is now the flyways for the waterfowl. And we got to visit the one and the what was it? The Canadian geese and some other, oh my goodness, they're just everywhere and they take off and I've never seen anything like it.
That's a big bird.
And I was really glad to think, okay, we are getting this great rice product producing a lot, and that most of them are trying to move over to flooding their fields to benefit. Of course, there's always the balance between the fish need the water, but we don't. We need the water and the birds don't. But I was impressed with that. It made me feel hopeful. The bottom line, however, is if the rain doesn't fall, doesn't matter if we build storage or conveyance, we have a problem, and it's a hard one.
Yeah.
If I-
Thank you for letting me
I
dabble
could
on
just
that.
add
It was
one
a
thing,
great
that
trip.
the dichotomy of going to the National Wildlife Preserve and seeing all these ducks, the night before, we had dinner at the Duck Club.
Ducks Unlimited.
Ducks Unlimited.
And they had all the stuffed animals on
They
the wall.
didn't have any ducks on the
No
walls.
ducks,
They
but
had all these animals
They had
from
moose,
Africa.
they had everything else. I'm like,
It was a nice
They're not
little
moose
paper,
unlimited,
though.
they're ducks unlimited.
There's no moose.
Yeah. Very good. Other business meetings? Yes, sir, Director Podel.
Just a couple of questions, or statements. We were out at EWA today, in their agenda. For the first time, they had some financial information that was presented as a dashboard. And I talked to Tom a little about it. He says we're just about ready to get to that. So it was really nice information that you were able to just take a quick look at visually. When they talk about dashboard, it may be a series of thermostats, or maybe it's a presentation that very clearly tells you the information they're trying to get to you, which is we're up 50%, we're down 50% as compared to this and that and the other. So you call it a dashboard look. And so anyway, I'm looking forward to us being able to see that. I also read an article, I think today, which was about San Alejo, something about a restriction on antennas. Do you think that'll affect Vallecitos at all?
Shouldn't, as far as I can tell, we're exempt from that type of a regulation for our facilities.
You know, I didn't. yeah,
House
I-
antennas.
Yeah, I didn't.
No, it
get-
wasn't house antennas.
No,
It was about,
I didn't get through all that article, but I did see that, so I'll go back and take a look at it.
it was about, your
The
relay stations
proliferation.
like your AT&Ts
Yeah.
and that sort of things, but, people getting upset about being able to see it.
Yeah, we get quite a few requests for them to build them on our sites, because obviously what we do is we find the highest, best looking piece of property,
Yeah,
and then we
yeah.
put a tank on it.
Right.
So those are always,
They do.
yeah, prime sites for communication type of things. So
Yes,
what
sir.
position we've taken to stay out of that fight is that we will agree to allow them to do it, but they have to take the lead and go through all the environmental, all the work, everything that goes with it. We don't wanna be the lead on that.
Okay, that's all.
Very good. Any other comments? Yes?
I would just like to thank the board and the staff for the joint meeting that we had a couple of weeks ago with the city of San Marcos. I thought it worked out remarkably well. And I noticed we have them obviously combined in our minutes, along with the potential of having a meeting again in 6 months. And I think we had a work list. I wish that Linda could have been there as well as Jenny, because you guys were given a lot of kudos for doing a great job. Lisa. What do you call
Yeah.
it? Started with L, that's pretty good.
L.I.
Yeah, I could have worked my way down to it. But I think the future joint meetings, we talked about potentially in 6 months, and we mentioned a bunch of things here we can do in the meantime
Mhm.
for it to be meaningful. And I think the city knows that they were looking at their calendar as well to see if their back room is available in 6 months.
Something to buy the boiler.
So you had to
Yeah,
have the boiler. So we
exactly.
had a meeting.
Yeah, what I did is I've already worked with Jack and the items that are in there. There was one that it didn't come out as a specific item as a follow-up at the end, but it was the use of the city hall alcoves
Yeah.
to maybe put something for Vallecitos.
Mhm.
So that's another one. It didn't come out as a task at the end, but Jack called me and said, well, we forgot about that. So we'll add that, but what I've asked staff is they'll have a report to me by, I think, I said the middle of next month, for the status of all these things. Then Jack and I'll sit down and say, okay, here's what it is. Here, we'll be bringing that to the board back once a month, just to let you know what's going on and what we've done.
And that's a very busy place.
Absolutely.
And yeah, if you have a display up there of any type that the Vietnam Memorial did so well, even moved off to the sides of the BA, people still comment on it.
Okay.
So, and that's off, out of the way, you have to go down the
Yeah.
whole way, I mean, so that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so Jackie brought that up and said, well, we also talked about getting you guys room over there, so we'll follow up on that too.
And get rid of some of the plants that are wasting water, put that instead.
And I did have one comment, it's interesting, on my journey here this last 2 weeks. One of the things that I saw that, I made a comparison, Europe versus the United States, and the thing that just was so intriguing was 95% of the toilets had the double flush plate, urination and everything. And I was shocked that we are so advanced here, and we're still got 1.8 or 1.3 gallons, 1.3 gallons, 1.3 gallons, 1.3 gallons. So at our next meeting, that will be on my topic. Yes, ma'am?
Yeah, well, I wanna thank you for letting me speak.
No, I don't wanna hear
You
it
don't
very
want
much.
to hear, he doesn't wanna hear this. Okay, so I'm the 4-unit person here, right?
Yes.
Okay, I had 2 new low flush toilets installed. I used 2 units this month.
See, there you go. And if you would have had a double opportunity, you could have made that to 1.5.
Well, I could owe, you guys would owe me money.
Hell yes, we'll pay you.
Well, I got my bill, and she actually called me and told me that, because I got my bill and I used 4. So I thought, I tied her.
Yes.
No, you didn't.
And I'd like to mention, I do know that those low-flow toilets, Ginger Heitke has used them in her project.
Mhm.
I believe Mike McDonald used them in his project. So I don't know if you're requiring that, or we're requiring that.
The plumbing code requires you to use a low flow now. You cannot
Right.
use the old ones, and they have the
But the
minimum
double-
flow. The double one is not mandated yet,
Yeah.
as far as I know.
I know those
No,
two
it's
projects
not.
already
Yeah.
have them installed.
Yeah.
I've
I'll
seen
work
them.
on that too.
Yeah.
That was number one. And number two, the open house, the fire open house I went to a couple of weeks ago. And can you tell me how well that worked out? I saw you there,
Yes, by all means.
Linda. I'm sorry. I'll always remember that.
Who did you use,
Lisa.
Phil?
It worked out excellent, so great suggestion. We got our booth over by the fire station, which was much busier than being in the regular health fair. So we had over 200 people visit our booth. It was
Huh?
very successful, yeah.
Excellent.
We handed out the low water plants. We ordered 100, thinking, that would be about right. We ran out in the first hour. So it was well received, so thank you.
Yeah, I got there
Yeah.
much later, and I didn't get to see it all, but I understand that display wasn't working, but it will be working for the next one.
Yes, there was issues with we were worried because inside the fountain actually sprays all over the ground. And so we didn't want to put it there because of a slip hazard, but they ended up putting us outside anyway. We were gonna bring the little one, we have a little fountain, but that one was broken. So many people, they keep pushing at it because they wanna know how it works, and then it snaps the parts, and it's not good. So it's kind of a mixed blessing that it attracts so many people.
But thank you,
But,
it was
yeah.
very nice seeing you there, and
Great.
very glad you did so well, as compared to other outreach
Yes,
you do on the street
definitely.
fair.
Good suggestion, so thank you.
Oh, terrific.
All right.
Thank you.
Further comments anywhere? Yes?
If anybody wants to see how a pipe gets shoved through the ground by sheer brute force, they did finally get approval from OSHA to start the tunneling this week. It's why we could never tell you when, because it was up to OSHA to finally say it. They are in the process right now, so if any of you want to see how a pipe jacking and tunnel boring works, just let Diane know, and we'll schedule a tour to get you out there to
It's
see how it
happening
works.
for how long?
James?
It'll be completed with the tunnel, probably by mid next week. So we got roughly a week.
Yeah, you got roughly
And
about a
will we actually be high enough to see something? When we went and signed the pipe, you couldn't really see it.
You'll be standing at the top of the pit. What you do is you'll look down, you'll see how they lower the pipe in, you'll see the jacking machine and how it shoves it through the ground, and just the whole process. The machine, the boring machine itself, well, it's kind of cool. Once it's in the ground, it doesn't do anything. It just drills a hole. But you'll see the rest of it, and I think we have the second tunnel.
I've seen them on the History Channel.
Yes, James.
Yeah, so this tunnel's under the 78, excuse me, I lost my voice. And
Where?
I don't know, I can't find it yet. The machine is actually about 60 to 70 feet underneath the ground already, underneath the freeway. So it's already underneath the lanes in the freeway, probably the westbound lanes.
What's the diameter?
It's a 52-inch outside diameter machine, so roughly. And then if we miss out on this opportunity, there'll be the one going underneath Johnson Lane, which will start probably in about 3 weeks or so. So there'll be another opportunity if everybody can't make it out for this one.
Oh, good. Thank you. No other comments? Adjourned.